Hello, I chose to do my community resource audit on the information behaviors of law students. Before I talk about the information behavior, I'll give you a little bit of background about law students. There are 204 American Bar Association approved law schools. In 2015, there were almost 114,000 law students enrolled in these schools. Currently, 49% of those students are female and 51% are male. The demographics vary by law school. As you can see, I provided the demographics of Yale Law School, which is considered the top law school in the country currently, and Northern Kentucky University Chase College of Law, which is where I went to law school. Law student traits are fairly common. Law students are typically ambitious, competitive, confident, and they suffer from depression, which is unfortunate. A study by Dresser found that 32% of law students reported having depression by the end of the first year of law school. 40% of law students reported having depression by the end of the third year of law school, and this is likely due because of the highly competitive and stressful environment. The literature review is fairly consistent of the literature available on law students, and I also looked at new attorneys, their information behavior. Brooks surveyed 10 first through fifth year attorneys and 10 law librarians and found that new hires lack cost-effective legal research skills, and they need to improve their skills using print secondary legal resources, which saves a lot of time and money. Howland and Lewis sent a questionnaire to 458 law firm librarians and found that law students and first-year associates are not satisfactory at creating research plans or at conducting cost-effective legal research. Most of the research found that law students prefer fee-based online resources and other online resources as opposed to print resources. Benfer and Shanahan explored this concept and found that most law students now are millennials, and millennials are more tech savvy, so they prefer online resources more. Lawson conducted a study, and it was the only discrepancy I found in the research. And this is likely because the study was done on small firm attorneys and solo practitioners, and they don't have access to fee-based online resources as much as law students, which it's provided free to law students, and most large law firms subscribe to fee-based online resources. So they use those much more often than solo practitioners. There are several ethical considerations when dealing with law students. First, law students are required to take courses in professional responsibility. They have to take an exam prior to being admitted to practice law in every state except Maryland and Wisconsin, and it's also not required in Puerto Rico. This test covers the American Bar Association Model Rules of Professional Conduct. Model Rule 1.1 covers competence, and it basically states that an attorney has to provide competent representation to a client. And in order to do this, the attorney must have the requisite knowledge, skill, thoroughness, and preparation necessary to represent a client. For law students, this means they need legal research skills, because if you can't research the law, you won't have the knowledge, the skill, the thoroughness, and you won't be prepared to represent the client. Librarians also have ethical considerations. The American Association of Law Libraries has a set of ethical principles. One of those is that librarians must not engage in the unauthorized practice of law. Only licensed attorneys can give legal advice, so when librarians are assisting people, they have to be careful not to give legal advice. Librarians also must continuously improve the quality of the legal services offered. This means that materials must be updated frequently. The law constantly is evolving, and there are constantly updates. So the materials have to be updated, and the law library must have the appropriate materials. Students must have access to the information they need. For my search strategy, I used LISTA, Library Literature and Information Science Full Text, Academic Search Complete, Westlaw Next, and Hein Online. I've provided the search strings that I used for both the library-specific databases and the legal-specific databases, which would be Westlaw Next and Hein Online. I'm not going to go over that too much right now because of the time constraints for the presentation. For my resources that I thought were helpful for law students, the commercial legal databases, which most law libraries already have access to at least one of these. Westlaw Next and Lexis Advance are the most popular. They have access to federal and state cases, federal and state constitutions, federal and state statutes, regulations, secondary sources such as legal encyclopedias, law dictionaries, law journal articles, forms, legal forms, things like that. And they've evolved since I was in law school, but now they kind of have an interface similar to Google. There's also Fastcase, which is a cheaper alternative to Westlaw and Lexis. It doesn't have as many features, but it's still pretty comprehensive. You can still get your case law and your statutes and regulations and things like that. I also provided links to the free legal databases. Google Scholar is one of the most popular because most people are already familiar with Google's interface. It's only for searching for cases. You can search by case name, citation, or keyword. Find Law is another one. You can search the U.S. Constitution and state and federal statutes by table of contents. You can also search for cases by topic, party name, or docket number if you happen to have that, but the cases are only available for a limited number of years depending on the jurisdiction, so it might not have everything that you're looking for. Print legal sources, these are volumes of books that most law libraries should have. The U.S. Code, that's the federal statutes, West Key Number Digest. It is a set of books that contains lists of cases indexed by subject. So if you know which legal topic you're looking for and you look under that topic, it will provide you a list of cases that discuss that topic. American Jurisprudence and Corpus Juris Secundum are legal encyclopedias. American Law Reports contains cases and statutes, and then it also gives detailed essays about a particular topic. And then Black's Law Dictionary is the most popular dictionary. There are also online reference resources and several government websites. The Legal Information Institute is a very good website housed by Cornell Law School. It provides access to a lot of legislation, cases, and things like that. I also provided some research guides as well as the rules of professional conduct. I provided some video resources, a Westlaw and a Lexis tutorial, as well as a video hypothetical that I created at EKU for the paralegal students that talks about how to use print sources to solve a legal problem. And I included some mental health resources in case students have substance abuse or mental health problems that they need addressed. For my needs assessment, I looked at the possibilities of methods that might be helpful, and I chose to do a mixed method of a historical analysis and a field experiment. Most of the literature covered surveys, so I didn't want to do a survey. And the literature says the same thing, so I didn't want to duplicate that. For my field experiment, I wanted to do a mock research assignment. This is designed to give to a class of law students after their first semester legal research course. The questions are designed to determine whether students can identify the appropriate resource to use for different types of research tasks, as well as whether students know how to use the different types of resources. The results will be used to determine where exactly these students are deficient in their research skills and to determine the best approach moving forward to help strengthen the student information seeking skills. I gave instructions for the needs assessment. I want them to use the most appropriate resource available in their law library. Each response should contain the legal resource they would use to answer the question. It should describe in detail the steps they would take to answer the question and list the citation of the section of the resource where the answer would be located. I have 10 total research tasks. They vary according to what it's asking for. They all cover a different source to make sure that they know how to use a variety of sources. Some of them want them to differentiate between state and federal law. Like research task number 3, explain how you would find information on the law and court procedure for your client charged with truancy. That's a state issue. So the purpose is to make sure they know to look in the state statute index as opposed to the federal index. Here are tasks 4 through 7. And research task 5, find the law that governs the motto, "In God We Trust." That, of course, is the motto that's on money. So that is a federal issue, not a state issue. Locate the topic and key number. That should give them a clue that they should be looking in a digest. And then here is research task 8 through 9. They all serve the same purpose of trying to figure out which source the student should use and figuring out if they know how to use it. The data collected from this will be compared with the historical analysis to develop a plan for the law school's library instruction. The assessment is designed to be able to be replicated at other law schools as needed. The results can be used to facilitate conversations with law faculty to do a collaboration in upper level courses where more research needs to be done. The more exposure to legal research that students have, the more likely it is that they will develop the skills that they need. I hope that you found this helpful. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great semester break.